one of the tragedies of the history of Israel-Palestine is I've said some things that have ended up being more true than I initially thought. Like one of the things I've said is that both sides want to fight all the time, but one side is delusional. Both sides seem to have enjoyed continuing the conflict for a long time with the hopes that they could acquire something more. But unfortunately for the Arabs, it was Israel that continued to acquire more just because Jews did politics so much better, politics and military operations so much better than the surrounding Arab states. Not because it wasn't a unified Muslim front. It wasn't even a unified Arab front. It was just because the Arab states were always also vying with each other for territorial claims. Also, I think something that I've said kind of before that I think is like a billion times more true than I realized is the Palestinians have truly gotten in all of this because they are literally just a pawn for the surrounding Arab states to fight with Israel. I don't believe any surrounding Arab states genuinely give a fuck about Palestinian rights to having land or a state. I think they always just saw them as a convenient weapon that can be wielded against Israel when convenient to do so. Israel expansion, ? Israel retains the former mandate plus Golan. Wow, so much expansionism. Well, the expansion is taking the entire West Bank, the entire Sinai, and all of the Golan Heights. There's a lot of expansionism. Yeah, and I think Moshe Dayan even admitted in an interview into the north with Syria that like they would try to provoke fights because Israel knows that the Arabs were really eager to go to war if they had the opportunity to, and if Israel has like a first strike from the other side, that they can conquer more territory and will continue to do so. But unfortunately, I think the Arab states just always kind of played into it because of their lack of statesmanship or their lack of strategic understanding until certain leaders emerged that were better at being leaders, with Sadat from Egypt, I think, being a really key figure. Hi.
I think it's important because I think that framing, even of the Khartoum conference, is important because it often becomes a situation where Arabs are framed as these recalcitrant people who don't actually want a peace deal and who just say no, 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 no matter what. When in fact, I think it's, as you pointed out, it's complicated, you know? These peace deals break down, these land deals break down for lots of reasons.
Yeah. And I think it's also worth noting, because I would say they didn't want peace because they wanted future conflict because they didn't really want Israel there, which is fair for them to feel. But I think Israel didn't really want peace either. They were just willing to go along. Yeah, because they'll take advantage of any military situation to situate themselves territorially even better. But again, I think the issue...
That could be an October 7th argument, though. That's my point.
Yeah, it can be, but the issue is that the surrounding Arab states have to stop walking into it over and over again. Like, for instance, even for the Six-Day War, I think Israeli people wanted the West Bank, but they were realistic. There were two different communications to, I think it was Abdullah at the time, please do not attack us. Why are you attacking us? And then he loses the entire West Bank because he gets wrapped up in the war against Israel. And then Israel conquers the entirety of the West Bank because he attacked. But if he wouldn't have, yeah, go ahead.
Even Israeli historians at this point acknowledge that was not a defensive war. Israel struck first. The argument now is not that Israel didn't strike first, it's that Israel needed to strike first and that it was a preemptive defensive war, which has been an argument that's been largely sort of dismissed in terms of rules of war and in terms of the international law. But Israel no longer claims that they were hit first. They claim
No, Israel absolutely was not hit first. No, they did, I think, for about a month after the Six-Day War began, and then finally they said, no, we attacked first. Was it a preemptive war? Yeah, absolutely, considering they attacked first. Was it a justified preemptive war? I think that the conversation gets a lot more hairy at that point. I think the scary part for Israel is they were alone in the world with no allies. This was, I think, Ben-Gurion's like worst nightmare come to fruition, that Israel hadn't made strong allies in the West yet. The United States was unwilling to give guarantees for peace. They were surrounded by hostile Arab nations that now had the full support of the Soviet Union behind them. I do agree, now that I've read a lot more on this, I don't think even Egypt initially wanted to go to war. I think that all the Arab states, though, were playing this dangerous game of brinksmanship where they were all goading each other. If you remember, like the Samu incident, and then the King of Jordan telling Egypt, well, look at you, you dog with your UN peacekeeping forces there. Syria was constantly goading attacks against Israel and Israel against Syria. And at some point, the situation built up to such that I think Israel could reasonably say, I feel like I'm about to get absolutely murked. All these people around me are about to kill me. I need to go to war first. I think it was fair for them to say that. I also think it's probably fair to say that they really didn't want to go to war, but man, they all hyped themselves up into it so much, it's hard to feel bad for them at the end of the day on it, I think.